everyone. 4 stakes races on Saturday at Santa Anita. Races 6, 7, 8, and 9. We'll take them separately in order, starting with the Grade 2 Joe Hernandez. It's race number 6. And I guess the biggest question right off the bat is, what surface will this race be run over? It's scheduled for 6 1/2 furlongs down the unique, iconic Santa Anita downhill turf course. But as of Thursday morning, it was still very, very wet out in California and still raining in Arcadia. And one of the first casualties of rain historically has always been the downhill turf course, because the downhill turf course crosses the main track at the head of the stretch. So there's a good chance anyway that the Hernandez will be moved from 6 1/2 on the hill to 6 1/2 on the main turf oval. The rain was expected to end on Thursday night, but you might want to take a good close look at the changes before finalizing your handicapping opinions regarding the Hernandez. It'd be great if it is run on 6 1/2 down the hill. It would be fine if it's run 6 1/2 on the main turf oval. The one thing we don't want to see is another repeat of the debacle from earlier this week on Monday, when Santa Anita took two turf races that were scheduled to be run on grass and switched them to the main track halfway through the card after the pick 6 and pick 5 sequence had already begun. So it would be nice for racetracks to be a little bit more considerate to horse players. And let's hope that lessons were learned on Monday with those surface changes halfway through the card. Okay, with regards to the Hernandez, it's race number 6, and let's go ahead and take a look at the field. A relatively small field, which is kind of the theme for all 4 stakes races on Saturday. In fact, the 4 stakes races have field sizes of 7, 5, 7, and 6. Average field size on the 4 stakes races Saturday, slightly more than 6 runners per race. Favoritism in the Hernandez is likely to go to number 1, Beer Can Man. And he's my top selection. I don't think he has to win this race at all. I think this is a little bit more wide open race than it might appear on the morning line or even in the final odds. Beer Can Man is razor sharp right now. We'll talk about him in just a second. But another sharp horse is the likely pace setter, number 6, Momos. Not coincidentally, perhaps, Beer Can Man is ridden by Pratt and Momos is ridden by Velasquez. And when it comes to the riding colony in California, Pratt and Velasquez are head and shoulders above the rest of the colony. It's horse racing. It's not jockey racing. So let's talk a little bit about the pace scenario for this race. Those 2 contenders, Beer Can Man and Momos, are really the only true front runners in the field. And that's one reason why I settled on those 2 as the most probable winners of this race. Beer Can Man, boy, it's hard to believe that a year ago when he made his California debut in the Grade 3 Cecil B. DeMille, he was 19-1, and he pace pressed his way to victory in that 1-mile race. Even then, trainer Mark Glatt said, look, we got the money in the mile DeMille, but this horse is a sprinter through and through. And he's turned out to be a very good turf sprinter, Beer Can Man has. And in his most recent start, it was at Del Mar on November 7th. He actually pre-entered the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, but did not make it into the field. He didn't quite qualify. He didn't have the proper credentials to crack the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint field. So he ran a day later in an allowance race. And let's take a look at the stretch run. Beer Can Man out finishing Commander. It's a relatively small field. Relatively small? How about 4 horses in the field? And so, yeah, you might say, well, who cares? He won a 4-horse field. Beer Can Man has been competitive and won races with bigger fields than this. This is a good, solid win by a good, solid horse. He was able to hold off Commander the length of the lane, gave him some confidence, Beer Can Man. Commander is back in this field on Saturday. I think that the pace scenario compromises his chances. So Beer Can Man, who has enough tactical speed to be sitting second behind likely pace setter Momos. And I'm very curious to see how the odds unfold in this race, because this might be another situation where I might end up betting my second preference in the race if there is a huge discrepancy in price. Now, what about Momos? Well, last time out, it was a dirt race at Churchill Downs, and he ran okay, finished second. But the reason I respect Momos in the Hernandez on Saturday at Santa Anita is based on his fourth place finish 2 starts back in a grade 2 turf sprint at Woodbine. And as we roll the tape on the stretch run of the New Arctic Stakes, talk a little bit about this horse. He was down on the inside. He was hounded every step by the favorite, a good horse by the name of Town Cruise. Momos put away Town Cruise, and he continued to battle back the length of the lane. And in deep stretch, he just was plumb tuckered out. He got swallowed up. Momos did, and he finished fourth by a length and 3/4. That's Momos down down on the inside in the Group 2, Grade 2 Nearctic at Woodbine. Under the circumstances, hounded by the favorite, put that favorite away. Momos ran super in defeat, even though he finished fourth. The difference on Saturday is that there's just no other true speed in the field other than Beer Can Man. So this race is likely to unfold at a relatively soft clip. The pace scenario benefits both Momos and my top choice, Beer Can Man. There's one crazy horse. I don't really think there's anybody here who's that crazy, but he's interesting because he's backing up from 1.5 miles to 6.5 furlongs. And I'm referring to number 7, Cupid's Claws. Cupid's Claws was supplemented to the Hernandez for $5,000 at entry time on Wednesday. Why would they spend $5,000 to supplement this long distance turf horse to run in a 6.5 furlong sprint? Well, the reason should be clear. Cupid's Claws is doing well. He has been running well against good company. And if my pace analysis turns out to be faulty, well, Cupid's Claws will be nowhere close to the front end early, but he's probably the best finisher in the field. I don't know if he can do 6.5, but he will be flying late, a $5,000 supplement. But when all is said and done in the Hernandez, Beer Can Man and Momos, the 2 front runners, my top 2 choices, with a big look at the deep closer, Cupid's Claws. That's race number 6, Saturday at Santa Anita.